We are going to keep it in the Pac-12, but we're going to shift over to maybe the most interesting matchup for the nation this week. At least probably most number of eyeballs will be on it. We have number 19 Colorado at number 10 Oregon. The Ducks are a 21-point favorite, and this game carries an over-under of 70.5. I'm not sure that we've talked about a game that had a 70-point over-under. This game kicks off at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Surprise, surprise, Fox big noon kickoff is going to be riding the Buffs until they lose. They're the Dallas Cowboys of college football. This number was at 14.5 last week, but then it reopened at minus 17.5, and it rocketed from there. There's been a lot of market siding on Oregon in this one. Colorado, going to be without Travis Hunter. He's out 3 weeks after taking what I thought was just a disgusting cheap shot to the ribs, but we've all talked about that. It's been all over Twitter. What isn't all over Twitter, though, which I think is interesting, Alton McCaskill. He's a Houston transfer running back. He was activated for the first time. He's going to play in this game. I don't know how much, but he is a big addition to this offense. We've seen Dylan Edwards be kind of the guy out of the backfield, but Alton McCaskill, extremely talented. He was a 1,000-yard rusher as a true freshman at Houston, and then he tore his ACL, and he has not played since, missed all of last year. I'm not sure if missing Travis Hunter is really that much a killer to the passing game, because you look at Jimmy Horn, Xavier Weaver, these guys have been production monsters and target hogs. But in the secondary, that might be an issue if they're not having their top corner, maybe one of the top corners in the nation. Let's see. Colorado's roster, it's a little banged up. Let's see how this team handles it. That was a primary concern of mine coming into the preseason. A lot of people had that leaving the preseason, was depth. Do they have the depth to withstand some injuries and some dings and bruises? And then the line play. Their offensive and defensive line both. They're getting crushed. Luckily, they've been able to work around it, and Shedeur Sanders has been able to offset most of that, something that I outwardly questioned going into this year. But yeah, no, he can definitely offset some of those things. The biggest mismatch here, though, Oregon's rushing attack versus Colorado's run defense. The Ducks are currently number 1 in EPA per rush. They are extremely explosive. Bucky Irving, Noah Whittington. It is a 1-2 punch in the backfield, unlike many others in the country. And then on the other side, Colorado's 108th in rushing EPA, 100th in rushing success rate allowed. So you saw that against TCU. Amani Bailey was just carving them up. You can get your yards. The difference between TCU and Oregon is Oregon isn't going to be as poorly coached on offense as TCU was in that game. If they can run the ball, they are going to until they cannot anymore. Whereas Kendall Briles wanted to go away and get cute and throw wheel routes on the goal line that results in interceptions. And yeah, whatever. But Oregon was able to generate over 2 line yards per carry versus Texas Tech, which is my only usable data point on this team so far. But I think that is a pretty notable one.
Yeah, before I get into the predictive metrics, Brett, to preview this one, I want to start with the resumes. Oregon is number 11 in my most deserving rankings. They have the 12th best record achievement and the 7th best relative scoring margin. Colorado's number 4 in my most deserving rankings. They have the 4th best record achievement. If Colorado finds a way to win this one, they're going to have a case for the number 1 spot in my most deserving rankings next week, which is just kind of crazy to think about because you think about what were the preseason expectations, where was the team power rated, all those things. But you won't be able to argue the results that they've had and the performances that they put together in terms of their win-loss record on the field if they win this one through 4 weeks of the season. Switching gears to the predictive side, you mentioned last week the line was like 14.5 or something like that. Now it's up to 21. Last week, my line was Oregon minus 20. This week, my line is Oregon minus 21.5. It's a 93% win expectancy for the Ducks, so I did not change nearly as much as Vegas did. And again, I know that is really heavily informed by what the public perception is of Colorado in that performance against Colorado State. My model actually didn't change that much because it was trying to catch up to Colorado. Then we saw what we saw, and it was like, okay, well, actually, maybe we are in about the right spot with Colorado. They actually fell a little bit for me. The Ducks are up 5.7 points in my power ratings compared to the preseason. That's the 10th best improvement nationally. They're ranked number 5 in the preseason. I suspected this offense would be good, but I didn't realize how good. The Ducks offense is now up to number 2 behind only USC, a fellow Pac-12 conference foe there. The defense has improved 10 spots. They're up to number 34 nationally. Colorado's 3-0. Their 3 wins are 2.0 more than my preseason realistic expectations projected to this point. Again, I was too low on them. Same with USC last year. That 2.0 plus differential is number 1 in the entire country. Put another way, there's no team that is exceeding preseason realistic expectations more than Colorado to this point of the year. Colorado's up 8.6 points in my power ratings compared to the preseason. Only Oklahoma has been upgraded more this season. All of that said, The Buffs are currently power rated number 59. That's 40 spots higher than they were in the preseason. That's the biggest jump of any team in my ordinal ranks. But the offense is number 44. That's up from number 88. Shadur Sanders is listed among those with the best odds to win the Heisman. The defense has been better than expected, but they're still ranked number 93. I have questions, and now without Hunter, you maybe have more questions. For as good as a story as Colorado's been, and I say that from the national media narrative, I personally find it somewhat tiresome, but that's okay because everyone likes to talk about it, and so we're going to keep doing it. Oregon has the advantage on both sides of the ball, and this game's in Autzen. Like, I have Oregon minus 21.5, 7% chance for Colorado to pull off the upset win on the road. For those wondering, because you're going to say, okay, well, Kelly, what'd you say about TCU? My numbers give the Buffs just a 6% chance in that one. We know a little bit more about Oregon today and this week than we knew about TCU before that game. So I'm not making excuses for the numbers. It was a great upset win for Colorado, and they deserve to win that game. They've defied the odds once. They can do it again. I don't think they will. If they do, you better believe I'll be taking Colorado seriously as a contender in the Pac-12. I'm just not necessarily thinking that they're there just yet. What Coach Prime has done is awesome, and they are very relevant nationally. There's no doubt about that. I still think they are a season or two away from being true contenders within their conference, which moving forward is going to be the Big 12. Currently, Oregon has a 48% chance to make the Pac-12 championship game. It's up to a 50% chance with a win. So again, not much, but that's because of where Colorado is power rated. They're 21.5 point dogs this week by my numbers. With a loss, that number gets cut in half to a 24% chance for Oregon to make it. So they really can't afford to slip up here if they want to continue to be one of those contenders in the Pac-12. Colorado currently less than a 1% chance to make it. If they win, it's up to 1%. But again, this is not assuming any improvement in the power ratings, which they will have if they beat Oregon. There's really no two ways about that. When you're a 21.5 point underdog, I don't care if it's the luckiest win in the world, you're going to improve in your power rating. If they lose it, it remains under a 1% chance. So Colorado, there's the challenge. I know they don't need any extra motivation. They always get it from someone. I guess I'm giving it to you this week. Not that they're watching me, but hey, I don't think you can do it. 21.5 points. Go out there, prove me wrong, and I will take you very seriously.
I'll be honest. I was really hoping that Colorado would have blown up Colorado State last week. And that's not like personal rooting against anything or anybody. It's just because I wanted a better number on Oregon than 14.5. Obviously, that didn't happen, and now the train has left the station, and I don't have a position on Oregon like I wanted going into this week. And at this point, I'm just not laying that big a number. Colorado's offense way too potent. I don't care who they're playing. It is way too much scoring capability for me to want to lay 21 points here with the Ducks. You do look at implied team totals, though. They have a 45.8 implied team total for Oregon. Honestly, that's worth a look. If the actual team total comes in under 49, I know that's a big old number, but I don't see a world in which Oregon doesn't just have their way offensively in this one.